Hey guys, this is Tommy.
And this is Thomas from Kamelot, and you're watching Artisan News.
How's the tour with Dragon Force going?
It's going great. I mean, we did, this is our second tour of North America on our Haven record, and we brought Dragon Force last time with us. And we got along really good, and we're like, let's do another round. And super cool guys, fun to tour with, and it's a great package, I think, for the fans.
Yeah, I really like the music too, and it's a super. It's always fun to go on after them because they get the people all pumped up and ready for us. It's
Yeah,
really cool.
it's been great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just want to bring up some newsworthy events so that we can get those out of the way. But I'm sure, obviously, you've heard of what went on with the Bataclan in Paris. So, what are your thoughts on that? And does that make you think differently about hitting the road and security?
Personally, not. I mean, it doesn't really affect. Shouldn't affect us. I mean, we're here to make people happy and play music that people want to hear, and so we're not going to be broken down by that.
Yeah, I mean, the weird thing for us is that we actually had played that venue before, so that was obviously, it really hit home. And knowing exactly how the venue's set up and thinking about the people that were in there is, really sad to think about. But we also have to continue to send a signal that we live our lives and not live in fear. And like Tommy said, the main thing with concerts is for people to kind of get away and enjoy themselves. So we didn't want to bring anybody down too much, with talking too much about it. But yeah, I mean, obviously, in the back of your head, you have to think about stuff like that. But we try to forge on.
Yeah. And is there different, we'll switch off of this topic, but I did want to talk about Haven and want to see if you guys have a different view of it or a different perception of it now, having some distance from its initial release.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me to see the impact of the record after it being out for 6-7 months now, it's really cool because when we did the first North American tour, the album hadn't even been out yet. So now we see the reflection of the record with the videos that have come out since then, and we see that in the shows. More people, new fans that come to the show.
It's actually really cool to see both the songs from Silverthorn and from Haven really come across really cool live, and you kind of feel that new wave of Kamelot fans, really, so it's really cool for me personally, since I'm the new singer since 2 records, which is it's super humbling and cool for me.
It also has to be I don't want to say a vindication, but it has to be um, reassuring that what you're doing is connecting with people. Do you remember if there was a specific show on this? It could be either on the earlier legs of this leg where you really felt that you were making the connection you really wanted to with this music.
Do you have one certain?
Well, I mean, I know the first show, for example, with Tommy was in front of 30,000 people in Czech Republic, and that was a pretty good vindication of the change, and also the new era for the band. I think every night too, it's another statement when you see fans get into it, singing songs from Silverthorn, from Haven. And we have a lot of fans that actually found out about the band starting with Silverthorn, which is really interesting, with the history of the band being what it is, and to have all these new fans. It's great to see that new synergy.
Yeah, I thought you meant on this tour, but yeah, of course, the first show was really overwhelming. It was like we've been recording the album, we've been hanging out together, talking about everything, how to really make an impact, and then to finally play that show in front of all these people, and everyone was super happy, screaming our name, and singing the songs, and already the new song was super good live. So I mean, that was just overwhelming, and that's probably, I will never forget that. I'll always carry that with me. But then every night, as Thomas says, it's just super fun to play all the songs, you know, and everyone knows them and everyone goes crazy. So it's basically every night super good, you know.
And you know what I love most about this band is the instrumentation within the band and the way that you guys structure everything. Um, Whereas I think now is a perfect time because I think maybe 5 years ago, 6 years ago, people were sort of ingrained in a certain way of doing things, or their bands had to sound a certain way. Whereas now, in my opinion, I think bands just a little bit more expansive and open to what you guys have to present. Do you feel that way, having witnessed some of these changes within the scene or within your audience?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we see a lot of diversity in our fan base, and I think that also is reflected in our sound. I mean, we have songs that have some metalcore stuff, some heavy growl vocals. We also have songs that are super classical and ballads, and so we kind of see that. I think metal fans now are starting to become a little bit more open-minded about, you know, not being afraid to like symphonic metal or power metal. You know, you see metalcore dudes moshing on some of the songs, and so I think that is also a reflection of the way that the world's kind of shrinking with social media, and I think that helps and lends itself to having a more diverse fan base, and I think we see that with our shows too.
And I did want to reel it back to, you know, this tour. I mean, what do you notice about this tour as opposed to the last time you came out?
Well, we can see that it's definitely growing, and it's, you know, even places we haven't been to and played. Now it's the first time for many of these shows, and it's super cool that so many people come out to the shows. You know, so we got to be doing something right.
Yeah, I mean, technically, usually you do your what they call your A markets, which is the first round. You do like the big major cities like New York, Los Angeles, and then you do a second tour with the different cities that you may have missed. And we were playing all these new cities, and the shows are packed, and that's got to be a reflection of you know, the Haven is expanding our fan base. So it's really cool to see that. And then it kind of gets us excited about the next record and what we're going to do touring wise and show wise. So it's the second legs for me so far has exceeded my expectations, and I think it's even funner than the first one.
Yeah.
And you know, it's funny. I have a friend who goes back with Napalm Records for years. Was not really familiar with you guys, and you know, came back and goes, you know, this is a really weird fit for them. What was the decision to kind of go with them? What kind of things did they bring to the table? And did, you know, I see it as an opportunity because you have your own unique identity on that label. But that's just me. But I just want to get your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I mean, when we decided we started talking to record labels. Our deal with SPV was over. We talked to all the sort of everybody knows the different labels that for the genre, and we started talking to Napalm, and they showed the biggest you know, want, and they felt like we would fit their roster because it is we are unique on their roster, you know. And they've done a super job. I mean, the record was #1 on the Billboard Hard Rock charts, which is something we've never done, and I don't think they've ever had that on their label as well. So, yeah, and it's been good. I mean, Europe, it's the, you know, top charts in Europe, and you know, we're talking about doing more videos now, which is really cool. We've already done 2, you know, pretty high budget videos, so we're talking about maybe doing 2 more. And so far, the working with Napalm has been really good.
Personally, I it's really cool to do those videos because you get to act out and, you know, do all this stuff on camera, you know, and we do a lot of things on green screen there, and it's really a challenge for me personally. You know, we do a little bit of acting on stage, you know, kind of expressive stage show, but there you really have to, you know, bring out your acting skills and really go for it.
Yeah, we've been going down to Serbia. We work with this company called iCode, and we've been working with them since about 2007. And they're really good at taking our initial ideas and then expanding them and then bringing out the best with us performance-wise. And we really wanted to go for this sort of futuristic kind of dystopic vibe, you know, and they were able to capture that really, I think, brilliantly with Insomnia.
Super, yeah.
And then we followed that up with the Liar Liar video with Alyssa White Glues from Arch Enemy. And again, they really did a great job. So we love working with those guys, and I'm sure we'll go back down there.
Do you think you're going to get around to making a video for Fail?
All right.
Probably not, because we had already done a lyric video for it, and the way that they wanted to roll that out was basically, let's make this the first introduction to the album for fans. Lyric video. We're probably going to do, well, I can't say yet,
No.
but it's going to be good.
Yeah, it's gonna be good.
Can you give us, even though you're not going to name it, and we'll probably also get it when it's released, I mean, is there a unique treatment for this particular video? So you can at least give us that, so that when it comes out, we can at least.
Sure, we always try to do something new, something that we haven't done before, and if we have a vision, we really want to capture that vision. So I think it's going to be something really, really cool that follows the kind of streamline of the last two videos a little bit.
And going back and getting into some history, I just wanted to ask you, what do you like best about what are your favorites, before you arrived?
The songs, you mean? Well, there was the first tour I did back in 2011 as a backup singer. That was the first real encounter with the band that I had. So I listened through all this stuff, and I really found, for example, one of the songs that I did on that tour, I sang 2 songs lead every night, and that was Center of the Universe, which really, that song has a lot, has a good melody, has a powerful chorus. It's fun to sing, and it's challenging to sing too. So that was one of the first, songs that I really, really got into. But then, I mean, basically everything I think is has a super high standard, and is, yeah, I think I really do, and it was really quite overwhelming to learn that actually. Then that. Okay, so I'm going to be doing all this stuff, but so far it's been working out great.
And from your perspective, is there any, not to say you want to mess with a lot of the older stuff, but is there any older stuff that you wish you could have almost redo with him in the fold?
Yeah, actually, that's there's a lot, not necessarily albums, but certain songs. It would be really cool, but it then you get into all these contractual things with the previous record companies, things like that. And it's funny because we sometimes we'll pull a song out from our past history, and that's another thing that we were talking about. We see a lot of new fans, and they don't even know some of these older songs, which is a good thing in a way, because it shows that the band is still growing and we have new fans. So we've messed around with bringing out songs from the past, but we really like to focus now on the present and the future. And I think that's part of the reason that the band is continuing to evolve, is that we don't think too much about the past stuff.
Do you guys do a lot of writing on the road, or do you wait for studio time to really get it?
I think it's personally really hard to write on the road, because your mind is so set on playing the shows and performing every single night. For me, I find inspiration for writing, at home, in my studio, on between tours, definitely.
Yeah, for me it's the same. I mean, on tour, it's so much going on, and you can do it, but then you're not really enjoying the journey of traveling and doing things, going out. We try to go whenever we're in a city that's cool. We try to see things, and occasionally, like at sound check, I'll record riffs and things, and then I'll put that aside. But normally I like to be at home in my studio and just have that solitude of having ideas, and it's pretty much been the way it's been since I started writing.
One thing I wanted to ask about you was, what song underwent the greatest metamorphosis from how it was originally written to how we hear it?
Yeah, I would say the song Revolution, actually, because that started off as a riff, basically, from Oliver, right? Or yeah, and then we kind of had this vision about this revolutionary um scene, where everything just kind of crumbles down, and this leader stands talking before his people, and we kind of built the song around that vision.
Yeah, that song, Oliver had written the basic demo for it, and then we sent it to Sasha, and Tommy was in the studio with Sasha, and then I guess about 3 days later we had a new version of it. It's like, wow, what song is this? No, but it had the same essence and the same basic riff, but they definitely made it cooler, and it's one of our favorite songs to play live now. So that one probably was the biggest, demo versus final.
And listening to the record, there's so much going on. It sounds so great. There's so much instrumentation that it sounds very full. Was it difficult to try to replicate that or get that together in a live setting?
I think we've always had that challenge. Even probably starting with Fourth Legacy, when we started bringing a lot more symphonic elements into the band. We have an amazing keyboard player. Occasionally, we have to put some strings or choirs on tracks and stuff. But generally, the sound is a little bit stripped down compared to the album. But a lot of fans really like that because it's got a more raw kind of appeal to it. Even some of the older records, with the new tour, fans are like, yeah, this sounds better live than on the whatever album. So I think that kind of contrast is something that people actually dig.
And I did also want to get in some of your influences. What would you say are maybe your top 3 influential albums for you?
It's a really hard one because I was never much of a metal guy myself. Growing up, I started to listen to metal when I was maybe 20 years old. So before that, that was where most of my music, the most of my how it shaped me the most before that.
Okay, it doesn't have to be.
Yeah. So I would say at least it's going to be hard to name 3 records, but 3 artists. It would be Michael Jackson, and Queen, and also I listen to a lot of Swedish music, which you probably never heard about, but singer-songwriter music. A guy called Lars Winnerbäck. I would say those 3 artists, but then of course I started getting to Dream Theater and bands like Sonata Arctica, really melodic metal. That's kind of where my influences come from.
What do you think it was that made Michael Jackson so special?
Well, first of all, he's just a musical genius, and everything he does is music. If he moves, if he dances, if he sings, if he talks, everything is music to my ears a little bit, which is kind of unique, I would say. So I would listen to that for 10 years before I even got to listening to metal. So I just like the grooves, the way he sings, and the way he creates music. He really was a mastermind.
What about for you? What do you think are the 3 top albums or go with the artists?
Yeah, as a kid, I grew up with my sister's rock bands. My sisters were into Zeppelin and Deep Purple, bands like that. But personally, Queen for sure was one of my earlier influences. Iron Maiden, probably like Yngwie Malmsteen, like The Rising Force when that came out. Queensryche was a big influence when I was a kid. So, no specific records really. I kind of had everybody's stuff back then. But those artists kind of helped shape what was happening with me as a songwriter. And then growing up in Tampa, we had bands like Sabotage, Crimson Glory. They were huge influences as well because we could see as local musicians that someone from that area was able to have success outside of that town, and we didn't have any role models other than those 2 bands at the time. And so in hindsight, I think that was a big influence on Kamelot.
How did Tampa shape your musical view, you think?
It was a huge scene, in the 90s and stuff. We had More Sound Studios, which was the only studio in Florida pretty much that took metal serious when it came to recording. And when you look back now at all the great recordings that came out of that studio, they definitely were responsible, I think, for having that Tampa metal scene, whether it be death metal, which Tampa's kind of known for, or more like the power metal stuff like Sabotage and Crimson. So it was a great scene back then. I mean, to me, I went to LA at the time too to just check it out, and I really liked the Tampa scene better. I mean, it was that better bands, better venues. And, so it's nowadays it's really not much going on there. We have great venues still, but it's just a whole different thing. But growing up at that time was really cool.
And I wanted to jump back onto one of your bands that you picked, Queen. What do you think made them special? What struck your fancy about them?
I mean, well, for sure, Freddie Mercury was amazing. But I also liked the fact that they could make an album that was diverse, and it was also a big indicator for me, for Kamelot, to be able to do a metal song, also do a ballad, do a song with Arabian influences. Whatever we wanted to do, we pretty much do. And Queen was one of those bands that didn't have any rules. I think they did a disco song on one of their albums, and really some quirky songs with Freddie Mercury. So that was a big appeal for me, and just the quality of the songwriting. Also, everybody having a unique sound. The guitar player having this amazingly cool and unique kind of sound. So all those kind of elements to me made them super special.
When I hear this music, like I'm in a room and I'm listening to the album, I think big things. Now, I don't know how big you guys are dreaming that it can eventually get, but are you starting to eye, now that as this train is starting to really get going, maybe bigger production values or more stuff happening with the music, coinciding with the music?
Well, I personally think that the music, like you said, it speaks to, it could almost be like a theater itself, which I think is a really cool idea. That and it's really fitting for the thing that we really do. Like incorporate it into some kind of theater kind of thing. And maybe since we made Silverthorn being a concept album, that would be really cool, for example, to do something more theatrical, maybe set it up like a real theater or something like that,
Yeah, I mean, I see like in certain parts of the world where we can play bigger venues, where we can do full production like pyros and stuff like that. We have a lot of ideas when it comes to like small arena type settings, or even larger outdoor venues. A lot of cool ideas that we're not able to do in small clubs, and we already do a lot of that already at some of the bigger shows. For example, in Europe, where we can do full production and pyros. But it would be great to see this growing to where we can fulfill some of those ideas, and a lot of it has to do with just crazy things that we've talked about, replicating some of the videos, for example, on stage, that kind of thing.
I mean, and you brought up a good point, and we were talking about some of the videos early on. I mean, how much in concert are you guys with the video? Because sometimes you get bands do videos, and it's more about the director's vision of that particular video or how he interprets it, and the band doesn't really get too much involved in that. I mean, what is the give and take between you guys, how you want to be represented visually, and taking that to be something that, like, say, for an Iron Maiden thing or whatever, or another band that seems to become representative, sort of what they do and what they are?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's really important to have full input into the original creative idea, the shooting, the final edits. Usually, there's about 10 edits on every video that we do, and it's not to say that the first version wasn't great. Just there's certain little things that we are really kind of OCD about. So that's why with each video, we really try to make it as best as possible visually. So we're pretty much on top of all that stuff, from script to the angles. At the same time, we want to make sure the director does his thing, and the director we use in Serbia is just amazing when it comes to ideas and movements and things. He works really good with Tommy as well, and I think that's part of the magic.
I will never forget the first time that we went there to record Sacrimony, and he said to me, like, okay, Tommy, go look screen, which means go look at the camera, look in from the camera angle, and he stood there and he did the whole song in one take, and it looked like the final version. It looked he was wearing his t-shirt and just his glasses and everything, but it looked like he'd already edited the video in real time. And he danced and he was doing all these moves, and I was like, holy this is not gonna work. This dude is so good. I'm gonna look like stupid doing this, And then we got to know each other, and everything worked out fine. He got me feel super relaxed and just brought the best out of me, which is really cool. So no, it's super good director, and has awesome ideas. So.
And like you were saying before, the sound on the records is so big. I mean, have you been approached by movies, other outside the typical music industry things for your music to be involved in, or maybe even you guys would score something? I don't know.
I would love to be a part of scoring something. I mean, I'm also a huge James Bond fan. I would love to do a 007 song. I think that would be like a dream come true, Like I know Sam Smith just did the one for the new movie, but in terms of being asked, not really. We haven't had any huge requests for that. We've had a lot of stuff like for indie films and stuff. It's pretty cool though. A couple of like college choir stuff. They've done renditions of our songs with a full choir, and that's really cool to see. But yeah, we got to do that 007 song.
I forget, Thanksgiving is coming up right around the corner. How are you guys going to celebrate Thanksgiving, and do you have any memorable Thanksgiving stories?
Oh, well, Thanksgiving, if you're like the typical American family, there's always somebody getting drunk and saying something stupid in the family. But no, I mean, we're actually going to be in Canada during Thanksgiving, so that's a bummer. I mean, not for the Canadians, but for the Americans, and it doesn't bother you, but we're going to get some local restaurant to bring in turkey, mashed potatoes, and candied yams, all the good stuff that we missed on Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be my first Thanksgiving ever, so we don't do that in Sweden. So I'm psyched.
That'll be better than the last couple. The last couple were a little iffy in my book. So listen, if you need a reference, call me.
Yeah. Okay.
But what's after this? What's coming up for the rest of the year, and what are the plans for 2016 for you guys?
Well, we have a second leg of the European tour coming up next spring, and we're gonna record a live DVD at some point, hopefully next year.
We got Japan, Asia, Australia next year, and then hopefully we'll do a few festivals. Like you said, the DVD, we finally have finalized contractual plans for the next DVD, and that's one of the things we were talking about earlier in terms of scale and everything. We want that to be massive as possible. So yeah, we're going to be busy. I mean, it's what you always want, and we're happy about that. And it's been a great journey, and we're looking forward to continuing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Thank
It's been
you.
a pleasure.
Thank you.